Okay, good evening and welcome to today's Cabinet meeting of Warwick District Council on the 27th of November. You'll be aware that this meeting is recorded and live streamed on YouTube. Details of how the recordings are stored and how long for are on the Council's website. There are no planned tests of the emergency alarm, so if it goes off, please leave by the nearest designated route without using the lift and meet in the central reservation on Regent Grove. Reminder for the use of mics, don't have anything in the way. So item number 1, apologies for absence. We have Councillor Whiteman for the independent group. Any others? And we have substitution. Good to see Councillor Kohler substituting for Councillor Milton for the Overview and Scrutiny Committee. Item 2, any declarations of interest? No. So item 3 is to confirm the minutes of the meeting held on the 16th of October, which I'm proposing from the chair. I don't see any speakers, so seconded by Councillor Melrose. All those in favour? Thank you very much. So we're now on to the we're not quite on to the main items. Item 4 was Warwick District Council car parking strategy, which has been withdrawn, and I hope will come to another meeting on the 18th of December. Item 5, General Fund Revenue-Based Budget for 26-27. Councillor Chilvers, can you give a brief introduction?
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you for the finance team for bringing this report through in such a smooth and timely way. This report is kind of setting out our base position ahead of us knowing what the local grant settlement is going to reveal to us on the week beginning the 15th of December. And basically, the really good news on it, this is that the reoccurring funds, which is the one that's most important for the reoccurring medium-term financial strategy, is currently projected to be in a small surplus. The one-off funds are currently showing a deficit, but we do expect them to be covered by the settlement when it comes.
Thank you. So, Councillor Kohler, for ONS, any comments?
This was not called into ONS, so no comments.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Bode, for the Liberal Democrat group, any thoughts?
Well, until we get the numbers off the government, it's a bit academic, but the interesting comment that one of my Ferret members found was that the general fund interest costs now equate to £60 per household, which is a third of the council bandee, which seems an awful lot of money, but I'm sure we'll look at that later.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Day from the Conservative group.
No, as I accidentally mentioned at ONS last night, Leader, this is the cards are in the air, basically. We wait for the government settlement, but appreciate this report sets the scene. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Falp for the Whitnash Independent Group.
Thank you for the report, but no comment at this time.
Okay, thank you. Any comments from any other Cabinet members? Before handing back to Councillor Chilvers, I'd like to say I'm very pleased it's come, because previously we've had a bit of a scramble in February. We may still have that scramble, but hopefully we're a bit better prepared this time. So back to you, Councillor Chilvers.
Thank you. Yes, on general fund interest costs, it's one of the things that I would like to see reported as part of the quarterly monitoring figures, because it is something that we have an expectation of income from, and so if we either make or don't exceed that income, then that impacts the general fund budget. So I think bringing that a line alongside the other quarterly figures would be something that would be helpful to allow members to look at that more closely. Yeah, and so there are still some reoccurring costs that are still being managed and coming through the system, so we need to be aware of those still. But my hope is that having been got this to us to this stage at the moment, we can use January to plan some of our spending over the next 2 years if we do get any additional spend from the finance settlement. But I think we need to be aware that the current indications are that we are going to lose between 5 and 7% of our core spending power because of the business rates reset. And so some of the extra income that we have been getting year on year for a long time is not going to be coming through anymore, which means that we do have to plan our spend carefully over the coming years. I'd like, on that note, to recommend this as laid out.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Thank you, Councillor King. All those in favour? Thank you. So on to item 6, pavement licence policy for 26 to 31. Councillor Sinnott, an introduction, please.
Thank you, Chair. Since 2023, when we've taken over control of the pavement licences, it's only right and proper that we have a policy for such things. This is the policy before you. It aims to differentiate between small businesses and the larger ones with 6 or more tables outside. It's just a sensible approach. It's full cost recovery, and it sets out the maximum figures that can be charged. So with that in mind, I would recommend it. Now, I'll wait for some feedback first. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for that introduction. Councillor Bode, any thoughts from your group?
Well, I'm sure I can give some feedback. We're a bit concerned that the difference in the charges between the 5 and the 6 seems to be quite high for up to 5. Bearing in mind that even the government has been trying to, well, it didn't really do much this time, was trying to look at town centre traders. And it's really, do we really want to be pushing this hard when our town centre traders are having a difficult time? And in the summer, of course, it's quite attractive to try and bring people in and boost the economy. One point I would ask you to look at, in all seriousness, is should the ward councillors actually be one of the consultees? Because that seems to be missed.
Thank you very much. Councillor Day, anything from your group?
No, thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. And Councillor Fell?
Not something we have a problem with in Whitnash, but obviously Whitnash people come into towns, and so it's important actually that we do have a strategy.
Okay, thank you very much. Any from anyone in Cabinet? No, so back to you, Councillor Sinnott. I don't know if you can pick up either of Councillor Bode's questions.
Yes, thank you, Chair. In response to that, the licensing team have looked at it where there's a natural cut-off, 5 and 6, between 5 and 6 tables. I was suggesting 3 different cut-offs or 4 different cut-offs, but it has to be practical, pragmatic and easy to administer. So they've gone for that approach. It is full cost recovery, so we can't charge for anything that we haven't done. It's just the fees have gone up, but beforehand we were probably losing money on the licensing of pavements. So the officers have found that to be the sweet spot to separate between the 5 and the 6. Some businesses have a lot more, and I was thinking that they could be, but the debate has been had. The professionals win the day. It's interesting that the consultees, the parish and town councils will be, for the first time, on there. Ward councillors, I've got absolutely no problems with that whatsoever. Now, whether they get Are we talking town or district ward councillors? Just point of clarity.
I'm talking districts. I think you've covered town and parish.
Yeah, okay. So I've no problem with that unless there's a bugbear for the officers. But I'm happy with that. With that in mind, I will propose the recommendation as stated in the paper.
Thank you, but we'll look at the other bit later. A seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Roberts. All those in favour? Thank you very much. We're now on to 3 or maybe 4 in one here, housing policy approvals. Councillor Melrose.
Thank you. This will be just short and sweet. So the paper is looking to adopt 3 policies: the hate crime policy, AIDS and adaptation policy, and damp mould and condensation policy. So these policies have already gone to housing scrutiny and are now coming to cabinet. And I'm sure eventually these will be going back to housing scrutiny to look how they've been implemented.
Thank you. Councillor Bode, anything from your group?
No, housing scrutiny handled it very well, and we'll be looking at how it's implemented.
Thank you. Councillor Day.
Ditto. No further comments.
Good. Councillor Falp?
Yeah, I raised audit and standards, the amount of internal audit reports we received with the comments, policy needs updating. So I'm really pleased to see that policies are being updated and brought forward.
Thank you, Councillor Falp. Yes, if you look at the tracker, there are a lot of policies that need doing. But I think from what Councillor Melrose, 3 more of them will be ticked off, hopefully, tonight. So a lot of good work, but a fair way to go. So anything from other Cabinet colleagues? Then back to you, Councillor Melrose.
I'll just propose a paper with the recommendations laid out.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Chilvers. All those in favour? Thank you very much. So we're now on to the Sports and Leisure Team Resources and Grants, except that was withdrawn as well. So again, hopefully it will be coming back soon. Number 9 is about subsidy control, which I don't know if Councillor Chilvers. Go on, Councillor Chilvers.
So this is to allow officer delegation to put in place appropriate subsidy control regulation. I think that's, I'll await comments, and Mr. Leach can fill in any, was I doing all right? Mr. Leach can fill us in if needs be.
Thank you. And of course, there's a confidential appendix to this that we shouldn't refer to. But I believe this did come to overview and scrutiny. So Councillor Kohler, comments, please.
Yes, thank you. We had a thorough discussion about this, both in public, in general terms, and in confidential session. And the comments that we agreed, I think, are fair. So we asked officers to deliver the scheme quickly and legally with all parties concerned, recognising this is an important part of the Creative Quarter vision. But also I would add to that that we make sure that we're doing things in a transparent way at all times as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Bode, anything to add?
Not really. I think transparency is the important thing. We can see what's going on and how decisions are being made.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Day.
Chairman, this was well aired at overview and scrutiny, as you know, last night, and you can be reassured I will not be touching on any confidential matters. I would just flag one concern. This is a policy that's coming in now when the Act was actually seen through Parliament 3 years ago. You know, subsidy control would seem to me like a very important regulatory area, certainly given the entrepreneurial nature, if I could describe to this council's work. So I'm just flagging as a concern that we're coming to put a policy in place 3 years after the Act was actually implemented. And that always raises red flags for me. Is there anything else that's happened in the last 3 years that we need to take an audit or review on?
Sounds an excellent question, which I hope Graham Leach, our monitoring officer, can answer.
Thank you, Leader. In this particular case, in terms of subsidy control, obviously all our projects and a similar work would go through the checks and balances to make sure that there is nothing for us to report. So in this instance, there are a couple of instances at the moment where there may be a need to add onto the subsidy control database. One is, they're both referenced in other reports on the agenda elsewhere. And I think that's the point. So we're going through this with legal services and identified this as just a sensible thing to put in place at this moment in time. All I'll say is that, if we'd have come across this earlier, we'd have brought something to you earlier. We only need to put the controls in place when we identify the issue.
Thank you. So that's, they were being looked at prior, but we didn't need to trigger this before now. Councillor Phelp, anything?
No comment, it was discussed at open scrutiny.
Okay, thank you very much. If there are no further comments, back to you, Councillor Chilvers.
Yeah, thank you for the discussion at ONS, and I fully concur with the quick and legal comment that was made by ONS. So on that note, I recommend as laid out.
Thank you, and thank you, Councillor Billiald, for seconding. All those in favour? Thank you very much. Now on to item 10, motion to suspend the use of social media platform X. And this was prompted by a motion at full council that was proposed by Councillor Kohler. So in his capacity as a councillor, he would like to say a few words now.
Thank you very much, Chair. And I would like to start again by thanking officers for bringing the report forward so promptly following the council meeting where we discussed the motion. As noted during that council debate, this motion was not about the operational issues, but about politics, and specifically about what kind of environment we want for our politics. It requested two specific actions: to suspend this council's use of X and to write to our local MPs asking them to lobby the government to follow suit. Council almost unanimously voted in favour of the motion, so Cabinet this evening gets to decide how best to implement those actions. During the debate, the issue of emergency protocols was raised and covered, I believe. So I believe personally that the best and most flexible course of action would be to pin a final post to our accounts announcing that we are suspending our use of X for everything except for emergency communications and signposting users to other sources of information. In this way, if there is an emergency where officers believe there is value in using X, then they would be free to do so. Regarding the second action contained in the motion, namely of asking the leader of the council to write to our local MPs to lobby the government to follow our lead, I hope that that will also swiftly proceed. Thank you very much for giving me the chance to speak tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I'll now turn to the portfolio holder, Councillor Davidson, to give a bit of introduction and a response to those.
Thank you. Thank you to the officers for the detailed report that addresses the current use of X and the various implications that staying on or coming off would have. And thank you for bringing forward this motion. I think this is a really important issue. I do note that this is not a black and white issue, and we are, taking in the concerns that were raised by the councillors at the council meeting on the 1st of October. My recommendation is that we do suspend the use of X for the reasons that were set out in the motion, which include the tweets by the owner, Elon Musk, and a general trend in his behaviour towards that of hatred and violence. In weighing up the benefits against the harm in the report that the officers have put forward, I want to highlight that the report states the child safety team has been cancelled, which means content cannot be checked for child abuse, grooming, or self-harm. X, whilst it is our second largest following, our engagement is actually higher on other platforms such as Facebook and LinkedIn. We don't know if all the followers live in Warwick District and whether the X algorithm is even pushing our posts to the relevant people. So we're totally reliant on their algorithm, which can and does change regularly. And many residents do not use X, so we cannot and we do not solely rely on X as our means of time-sensitive communication, but rather we use it in addition to other communication methods. So in addition to WDC withdrawing from X, I would urge all councillors to do the same to ensure that we have consistent messaging between our members and the council. We would like to monitor and review coming back onto X. So if there are any material changes in circumstances, such as new ownership or new safety features that make this platform a safe and welcoming place, then we would come back on. But this also could mean if we decide that the harm has actually been more harmful than the benefit of coming off, then maybe we do come back on. And I think that will be something that we can review and monitor. And then as stated in the motion, we would like the leader to write to our local MPs to address these concerns and urge that the MPs get the government to do the same. And just for clarity's sake, we will keep the platform online so that nobody else can take over our handle to prevent, impersonating us. We will have a pinned post which will state we're no longer using X, but we will not use it even for time-sensitive or emergency things because we feel like that might be quite contradictory to the actual motion itself. So the plan is to completely come off with reviewing the situation.
Okay, long introduction, but thank you very much. Councillor Bode, anything further from your group?
Certainly not.
Councillor Day?
No, nothing further.
Councillor Falp?
Yeah, I'm not a user of social media, I've got more sense. But I do know a lot of people do use it. But the strength of feeling at full council was that we should not be on it. So I agree with withdrawing.
Yes, thank you. So with respect to writing to MPs, I didn't think it would be appropriate to write to them if we hadn't made a formal decision. So remind me if I haven't made any progress in the next week, Councillor Kohler. But that's something for me, assuming this is agreed. Back to you, Councillor Davidson, to wrap up.
Great, so I recommend that we suspend the use of X.
Do I have a second now? Thank you, Councillor King. All those in favour? Thank you very much. So on to item 11, corporate strategy update. As you know, the corporate strategy is the administration's, this is what we're trying to do, and it felt sensible after 2 years to have a look at what we're doing, what we're trying to change. It's been, I think our chief exec said something like a light touch review or something like that, where we've left most of it in place, but removed a few of the things, like Councillor King and I are very keen on the circular economy, but realistically, we couldn't see that would make good progress. So it was good to reduce the amount that we're trying to do. Another bit on it is that, first of all, the measurements to begin with in the original document were relatively vague, I think I could say, and now they're much tighter. They're in the service area plans and so on, so we could update that. The two other bits was, first of all, thank you to the previous administration for setting us up with a corporate peer challenge when we came in. Bit of a challenge when we, so early on, but extremely helpful. And they were very keen about improving the corporate core and the performance monitoring, which is kind of what we've just said we were bringing in. And then the other was the Climate Change Action Programme, again from the previous administration, had been largely superseded by the corporate strategy, and now it formally has been. It's been brought in. So, Councillor Bode, any comments from your group?
As you said, it's your corporate strategy and not mine.
Well, ours is in a sense of administration, but point well made. Thank you. Councillor Day.
Well, firstly, we value the fact that this is being revisited and updated and that there are key measurables there. I think it's important to show that it's a living document. It does take effort and work, particularly when you're also dealing with local government reorganisation, and I note that features in the revision as well, as it should. So no, I think this is good housekeeping and good work, and it's keeping our residents and our councillors informed of this administration's priorities and how we're progressing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Day. Councillor Falp.
Again, it's not my policy, it's yours, so no comment.
Any comments from any Cabinet members? I will. Well, I think if I got Councillor Williams started on the metrics for low-cost, low-carbon energy, Sophie Barbalau here, who said there was a bit of betting going on about how long this meeting would take. I think she might win if we go for that. I do want to comment on one thing that Councillor Day said in terms of local government reorganisation. Absolutely, that's an important thing. And we are looking seriously in terms of what is realistic to be achieved. but we have kept the, we've had said it's a strategy to 2023, sorry, to 2030, and that was to try and keep a bit of perspective, because if you think cliff edge terms, that any change to local government reorganisation may be delayed or it may never happen. So I think it's very important to be looking for the future. So that's why we've kept that language there. Okay, thank you. Well, I'm proposing from the chair. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor King. All those in favour? Thank you very much. Moving on to item 12, Q2 budget update. Councillor Chilvers.
Thank you very much. So this covers second quarter, July, August, September. You'll see that it is currently showing an overspend of around £900,000. It's largely down to some spend around, or about half of it is due to spend around homelessness, and that is something that Councillor Melrose and myself will be keeping a close eye on to see how we can bring it back in. But it's a complex issue, and some of the solutions which we are putting into place are long term. But we obviously, these quarterly reports sort of help give us advance notice of building in that extra should we need to use it. But hopefully we will bring in the report, bring in the overspend by the end of the financial year.
As I may forget otherwise, I'm told there was some amendment or typo or something. You are.
Thank you very much. Yes, I think Councillor Kohler spotted an errant extra zero, which made a variance go up tenfold. If at the end, I'll say which table it was in.
Thank you. So, well, you may not need to. Councillor Kohler may be able to do it for you. Comments from over ONS, please.
Very happy to leave that to Councillor Chilvers. But yes, we spotted the obligatory typo, and so I think we passed with flying colours, frankly. We had a good discussion around it, as well as talking about homelessness strategy. We also dug a little bit into car parking, the drop in revenue that we're currently experiencing in car parking revenue, and we're reassured that it should be temporary for reasons that are known. The only other thing I was going to say was that we discussed that with the quarterly budget update and the general fund base budget, so one was going to ONS and the other was going to the budget review group, meaning that the same officers would be required to go 2 nights running. So the chair of ONS, who is not me, took an action to go and review the terms of reference for the budget review group to try and streamline that for officers. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Bode, any further comments?
There was a question we have on temporary accommodation and how we get paid for it. And our understanding is that we make provision for it. We are repaid by the government, but at the value set in 2011. What steps have the administration taken to lobby for this to be more realistic?
I think councillors up and down the land, I'll get back to that in a moment. But Councillor Falp.
No comment.
Okay, thank you. Comments? Councillor Melrose.
I completely agree with Councillor Bode. Around the level of 2011, I just started secondary school, so, you know, time has passed. It's not right, the level. Obviously, I've lobbied my local MP when I've spoke to him about it, saying, especially as at the moment we experienced the highest number of placements in temporary accommodation just passed, which hence was that spike, which is why I'm working with Councillor Chilvers to try and pull that back in. It is something up and down the country. I think we've all, in our respective political groups, have probably raised it in our forums that we do. So it's one of the things we would all ask the government to have a look in changing that number, because the bed and breakfast, you know, if you put someone in a bed and breakfast, the money that you get from the government doesn't hit, what, a fifth, if that.
Okay, thank you. If no further comments, back to Councillor Chilvers to pick up one or two bits and then finish off.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for the comments from O and S. Yes, I think the parking figures we are expecting to come back in, and obviously the new fees and charges will be coming in the middle of December. So Mrs. Bartlow's nodding, and obviously have an extensive debate on those looking forward. Just to add to what Councillor Melrose said, the DCN, of which we are part, the network of councils, the district councils, released their update on this only a couple of weeks ago, so it is something that's been very actively lobbied on, and their estimate is that the average district council is losing £1.6 million a year because of the freeze since 2011. So I think it's important to put our over budget at the moment in that context. And with that,
Can you
Oh.
say the actual number?
Thank you. Yes. So, sorry, let me find that again. I've got it up. So on page 3, there is a typo in the figures for neighbourhood. The Q2 variance is 760,000, not 7.76 million, but all other figures are correct. With that amendment, I would like to recommend this as laid out.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Roberts. All those in favour? Thank you very much. We're back to Councillor Chilvers again on procurement exercises over the threshold.
Thank you. So this is to help us as members have sight of the larger procurement exercises that are coming through the system. We now have a KPI for this in the finance service plan, and my plan is to bring that figure to this meeting at the next cabinet. There's quite a lot in the private and confidential appendix which members may wish to comment on.
Yes, so private and confidential, if it's pertinent to this, we need to go into private session, but hopefully they won't be. Councillor Bode, any thoughts from your...
No.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Day.
No thoughts.
Thank you. Councillor Fell.
Just good to see windows and doors there. You know, I always go on and on, but we should be doing windows and doors before everything else.
Oh, okay. We can be asking about the sequencing, but obviously there are contracts for all of these, and these are, I think, all continuations. Are there any other comments on this? Okay, so back to you, Councillor Chilvers.
I'd like to recommend these as laid out, including the confidential appendix.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Melrose. All those in favour? Thank you. And moving on to item 14, which was mentioned in the previous one, electric vehicle charging point installation proposals, which Councillor Roberts, would you like to introduce?
Yes, thank you, Chair. So this report sets out recommendations to improve the EV charging in our off-street car parks, not only by increasing the number of charging points across more of our car parks, but also improving the charging infrastructure with faster charging, whilst also providing a better deal for the council that we currently have. And of course, with more charging options for our residents and visitors, it is also helping tackle the climate emergency. I welcome comments.
Thank you. Councillor Bode.
No, I think it's good that maybe we were working with Stratford. I don't quite understand what they did or plan to do on the 3rd of December about charges, which is on my notes. But however, what do we do on charging points when the vehicle's being charged for half an hour, which usually is plenty? How do you get them moved off? Or do they just sit there until the customer comes back? So, for instance, if you worked in town and you went to St Peter's car park, put your car on charge, you didn't go back till 5 o'clock. It's been there from 9 till 5, restricting the use to anyone else. How are we managing that?
Okay, thank you. Councillor Falp, any points from you?
Not on this, no, but just a note that having gone around Witness a lot recently, we're very well blessed for people with charging points. So well done, Whitlash, for doing that. So not sure how many people in Whitlash will be using these, but good to see they're going to be in.
Okay, thank you. Are there any comments? Or Councillor Day, sorry.
Leader, thank you. I'm really pleased to see this report, as you'd appreciate, with the government taking somewhat of a different view and encouraging EV take-up across the country. I'm pleased this council is sticking to its guns and putting some infrastructure in and bringing it up to date. I could answer Councillor Bode's question for him, but I'll leave that to Councillor Roberts. I'm happy to, if he wants to come back to me on that. The one thing I would say, Leader, is, to be honest, I'm again, you'll recognise my comment from previous ones. Where's the infrastructure for charging electric bikes? These bikes are often as expensive, if not more expensive, than some cars. And people do come some distance sometimes using them, and we would wish to encourage that. We have an excellent cycle network. I'm delighted to see the Dales Way coming along. We could have people coming, using that to come in all the way from, Draycott Water or further afield. And I just feel we're missing an opportunity if we do not make provision for the charging of electric bikes. And I apologise to the portfolio holder if I've not seen that in this report, but I couldn't find it.
Thank you. Yes, we have discussed that before, and personally I think it's the safe and dry parking of expensive bikes that is a higher priority. Councillor King, did you want to come in there?
Yeah, on that one, Councillor, as far as the plans that are moving ahead on Leamington Town Centre, we will be providing provision for charging of bicycles, as in general storage, safe storage and dry storage for bicycles in general. Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from portfolio? No. I will hand back to Councillor Roberts, but I will set him up with a question as well, because there's this bit about the issue with the current BP Pulse ones. Why aren't we continuing with them? And also just to note that although in the procurement it said it's over the amount of money, we are expecting, are we not, to have an income from this rather than actually be paying. So, Councillor Roberts.
Thank you, Chair. Firstly, if I can go to Councillor Day, I think pretty good point. This is obviously just focusing on EV vehicles. Councillor King has answered that, but I think it's something we need to look at wider spread, and we should be looking, our car parks are actually transport hubs in the future, and that's a conversation moving forward we will have. Councillor Bode, it's a really good point, people hogging spots. I don't have a direct answer, but moving forwards, charging for actually the use of the space as well, instead of just people coming in and using, the unit to charge their cars. So to put a tariff on that. But I will come back to you on that one. Councillor Day, you're indicating.
If I may, if you'll allow me to come in just to say, what happens in my experience being an EV user is that the charger tells you you've got a certain amount of time. If you overstay the time, you are then charged a penalty. I think from memory it's 90 minutes. So in the case that, an example that Councillor Bode helpfully provided, you would get a penalty charge from the EV provider, and I see Councillor Williams nodding. Hope that's helpful.
It's certainly ferocious in London.
Yeah, that is helpful, and I do know that some, like Tesla, they do that. I'm not a fay with every single charging point, but it depends who the operator is, and that's something we could certainly discuss with them. But I think there are several options we can look at, because we don't want people hogging up our spaces all day. Absolutely. With regards to BP Pulse, yes, we are in a position that BP Pulse currently operate the charges in our off-street car parks. The contract has run out, and we've asked for them to carry it on until we get a new operator in. They are not willing to do this at the moment, so there will be a time when we will have, we won't have any charging in our off-street car parks, but we will be indicating to residents and visitors where they can go and where they can get local charging, perhaps on the street. Currently, the setup is that we don't actually get any income from this at all. So I don't want to go into how that happened, and that was probably a very poor deal for the District Council. This puts forward something where it does bring in an income for us, so it helps us maintain, manage that infrastructure and our car parks moving forward over the 15-year contract. So on that note, I'd like to recommend the recommendations in this report. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Williams. All those in favour? Thank you very much. We're now on to low-cost loan scheme for private domestic retrofit. Councillor Williams, a brief introduction, please.
Thank you very much. As members will know, the strategic priority 2 of this council is low cost, low carbon across the district, and specifically 2.5.1 challenges us to explore multiple and innovative approaches to make it easier for others in the district to reduce their energy needs. This proposal in front of us is one of a trilogy of projects, the first being reducing the cost for our tenants in our own council homes, which has been brought forward through the Wave 3 Warm Homes grant, which is a grant to us to work with our own homes. The second of those projects is the Warm Homes grant. These things are all called the same, just to confuse us, but that is aimed at residents with lower incomes and in certain areas of our district, which gives them a grant in order to help reduce their energy needs and their energy costs. And the third here is the paper which is in front of you, which is proposing a loan scheme to reach out to those residents who don't qualify for the other 2 schemes. So I know this had a good discussion at ONS and I welcome their comments.
And so do I. Over to you, Councillor Kohler.
Thank you very much. This was the last item on our agenda that we discussed, but despite that, it got a very rigorous going over. I should like to particularly thank the 2 officers who were present, who I think were more junior than the heads of service that would normally come and present a report. And yeah, I think I would like to reassure them that ONS isn't always like that. So yes, we did raise some significant concerns about the report and the lack of a full business case in there, and we also picked on several gaps within it. So there's nothing in there about how the climate benefits should be calculated. There was also nothing said about, it says that it's open for landlords, but there's no control about, those landlords could live overseas, for example. So how does that work? So there needs to be quite a lot more done to improve the report. However, members absolutely understood why the scheme is coming forward and the outcomes it's trying to achieve. So ultimately, we are quite comfortable for the work to continue to go ahead on the scheme. However, we recommended that a further appropriately detailed report should be brought forward to Cabinet before any commitment to finance the scheme is made. So, thank you.
Thank you. I'll go straight back to Councillor Williams specifically about the recommendation they're proposing.
The reworded recommendation. Yes, so thank ONS for those comments. I think they're extremely helpful. I've spoken to the 2 officers this afternoon and actually enjoyed ONS and recognised its value. In fact, one of the comments was it really made me understand how important ONS was. So thank you very much for that. I apologise I couldn't be there in person. In light of your comments, we are proposing to remove the 4 current recommendations as set out in the report and replace them with these 3 recommendations. 1, that the Cabinet approves the proposed indicative principle and basic structure of the low-cost loan scheme as follows in section 1.1. Secondly, that the Cabinet authorises commencement of the procurement process to bring on board a suitably experienced loan distribution and administration organisation to run the scheme on behalf of the Council, procured through the CCS framework RM6322. And thirdly, I think this is important, that prior to the award of the contract, a further report comes back to Cabinet setting out a full business case being submitted, sensitivity allowance and calculation of climate benefits trying to be achieved, interest rates and loan length finalised.
So in fact, that was the first 2 recommendations are the same, but recommendations 3 and 4 have been deleted, and that has to come back as a report to Cabinet has been included. So thank you. Councillor Bode, anything from your group?
No, I think what's been asked for and the changes that have been made should have been done beforehand anyway. I'm looking at the project, so the whole project cost came forward, so I'm a bit disappointed in that. But at least it's been caught up by scrutiny, so it's a tick for scrutiny. Well done.
Yes, that's fine. We certainly did want it to come back, so it was a slip that it wasn't in the wording. So thanks for pointing that out. Councillor Day.
Chairman, we welcome that change as you were present for the debate at ONS last night. Can I just speak firstly about ONS, Chair? Our group was concerned that the portfolio holder was not present and that the report author was not present and that it fell to two more junior officers to present this. This is part of a core part of the corporate strategy we just saw updated earlier in this evening's agenda. And I do appreciate that personal services me. I've been away myself recently. But I do appreciate life has to happen. But where that is the case, I think we need to make sure that there is someone from Cabinet clearly speaking to ONS about this matter. It's an important strategic initiative, and I think that enables ONS to do an even better job in future. That's our group's request there. As to the substance of the report, I think too we've got to see this in the context of the other financial pressures that the council is facing. I appreciate, and our group appreciates the priorities here, but when you're debating seven-figure sums, I'm not sure what I'm allowed to say or not, but significant sums of money, if I can be that general, for a relatively small number of houses or dwellings that may or may not be for residents who actually live in the district, as ONS and Councillor Kohler highlighted, it becomes very challenging when you juxtaposition that against, a council tax increase, which everyone is legally obliged to pay. So, and we're talking comparable enough sums, frankly. So I think when we see this next time, and I would ask through you, Chair, that to the portfolio holder, I think a very thorough, robust business case is necessary, and also testing, frankly, at the different interest points that may change that financial equation but achieve very similar net zero carbon outcomes, which I know is what is driving this policy. I don't want to rehash ONS, but our group really will feeling quite strongly and will be delighted to hear news about the change in the recommendations this evening.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Falp?
Yeah, it's never been one of my favourite schemes, but, I know it's something that you particularly wanted to do. The interest rate seems very low, but, there's probably reasons for it. But I agree with what Bruce Scrutiny said. You need a strong business case so you can actually look at this in the round.
Okay, I'll answer a few of those things, and I think I did answer some of them last night. So, sorry, Councillor Chilvers, you first.
Thank you. And thank you for the comments and the debate at ONS. I did think it was really helpful, and I'm sort of welcome both the additional recommendation, but also then the additional safeguards that can go in place. I just, on the finance specifically, I just would like to say that although the investment is a seven-figure sum, which is actually in the public report, the actual cost of this scheme is significantly lower because it's a loan scheme, so the money comes back in over a period of time. And actually, since ONS, I've gone over again on the financial figures on this, and actually I am confident about the robustness of the profile of the scheme. And actually, I think it is on the prudent side because of the way that the loan has been profiled, and there are opportunities for the council to be flexible about when loan amounts are spent in line with when money comes through from LGI schemes, which actually then end up reducing the cost of this for the council. So I think, and that can come out as we go through the next procurement stage, but actually I think our officers have done a very good job of modelling this in a prudent way and reflecting that the overall cost is lower than that seven-figure sum.
Okay, thank you. Before turning to Councillor Williams, just comment on a couple of bits there. The main report author is now on maternity leave. She's done an excellent job, so I don't think it'd be fair to say why wasn't she there. And clearly, the officer, one of the officers who was there last night, has recently taken over, and I thought he did extremely well in the circumstances. So I can't see that that's a problem. What has driven a lot of the numbers and assumptions has been pretty extensive soft market testing. And I don't think you are saying this, but if you were saying, oh, do loads more, we just keep going round and round in circles and we don't actually ever do anything. So my view is it is the time to go out now, and we'll get more clarity on what the scheme is, because the different providers may come up with slightly different things. So I'm very comfortable with where it is now. Of course it should come back, and that, you know, should have been explicit in the report, and it wasn't. Turning now to Councillor Williams.
Yeah, thank you for those comments. I do welcome the comments. Just in terms of coming back and being explicit, it was always my view that this would come back through our routine procurement processes, because it's a procurement greater than £150,000. So the detailed business case and the go, no go decision will be made at that point of time. Just in terms of a couple of points on it, you know, the leader's already said the officer in charge of the scheme had done multiple soft market testing with 3 expert loan providers who run these schemes elsewhere. And the interest rate which is proposed is the sum of the advice of all of those schemes. It's the point at which the loans work, i.e. the individuals take the loan up and you get a return on your investment. And as Councillor Childers has said, there's the opportunity to flex the scheme at any point in time, providing you contract properly with the loan administrator. So if the money's moving out too quickly, you can stop and put the interest rate up, or vice versa. That there was a comment made about carbon calculated and carbon predictions. Members will recall that we use a predicted carbon and bill saving calculator with the Warm Homes Local Grant Scheme. The same would be used with this scheme, and I understand that DESNZ will be bringing an update to that tool, so that will allow you to measure the impact. There'll be a significant number of residents benefiting from this scheme, 1,000 residents or more. And actually the cost of this scheme to the council is relatively low in terms of just the administration and the benefit that it will return. In terms of landlords, that's a very interesting discussion, and who benefits. The aim is to benefit residents in the district, so bringing the cost down is the cost of the residents. So this would only be for, you know, the people who benefit from the people who live in the homes in the district. So residents will have lower costs. The Low Cost, Low Carbon Programme Board, I would just remind everybody here, the Low Cost, Low Carbon Programme Board and the advisory group have both had multiple inputs into this scheme in its development, and the debate about landlords was had there. It was a marginal debate because it's clearly an interesting point, but it was recognised that that would benefit the residents of the district, and it goes without saying that by working with experienced operators who manage these schemes elsewhere, you put in the checks and balances and protection needed to ensure that the funds are used appropriately. So I do recognise that it's a challenging scheme, but I think you know, we're in challenging territory now. We need to find ways of reaching out to all the residents in our district. So again, I thank the ONS for the work that they've done. I think it was a particular conspiracy of issues preventing my attendance and the officer who had written the report from attending that meeting. So with the prior changes, which I have already introduced, I recommend this to Cabinet for approval.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Roberts. All those in favour? Thank you. So we're now on to Shakespeare's England, Performance Review and Future Funding Options. So over to Councillor Billiald.
Thank you, Chair. So this report provides an update on the performance of Shakespeare's England, considers whether and to what extent this council funds Shakespeare's England after March 2026, and considers alternative options if funding was not to be provided.
Okay, thank you. Any comments for Councillor Bode?
Well, I thought there might have been comments as to what are the options were and why you didn't do that, but that'll be in the report, no doubt. I mean, the one good part about it is it's now in their conditions that they will work also with the town and parish councils on their promotion. I think that's important and value for money for us.
Thank you. Councillor Day.
Our group supports this report. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Fowl.
No comments from me.
Thank you. Any further comments? Okay, thank you. Back to you, Councillor Billiard.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for that comment, Councillor Bode. Yes, Shakespeare's England have suffered intense scrutiny from myself, so I apologise for that and thank them. We will, of course, be holding them accountable as we move forward to ensure coverage across the district and ensuring quality of their media posts. They're closely looking at the accessibility of their posts and whether they're readable for those who struggle with sight issues, sight disabilities, whether they can be read by readers. So they're doing that. But they are closely working with the town councils and also BID, because our BID manager is on their board. So that works really well. So with this in mind, I would like to put forward the recommendations as laid out.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor King. All those in favour? Thank you very much. Now on to St Nicholas Leisure Centre PV installation, etc. Is this Councillor Sinnott or Williams? Take your pick. Councillor Williams, please.
Yes, thank you very much. I think this is a fairly straightforward paper, which I'm presenting to Cabinet here. This is an additional funding of £60,000 to cover the cost of full and proper repairs to the roof at St Nicholas Park Leisure Centre. As Councillor King will know from the other roof we're dealing with, when you get onto the roofs, there's more to be done than you would hope. But this is a good use of funds because it ensures the roof's performance into the future and allows us also to deliver the PV scheme.
Thank you. I think we get on to the other roof later. Councillor Bode, any comments from your group?
Well, yes, there are two items on the agenda, right? They're both costing more than we thought they'd cost. There are particular reasons for that, more important than others. But surely we need to look at the way we're actually sizing up jobs and getting people into the price for doing the work. Because presumably once the contract has been given, that's the fixed price. Now the fact that we found other things afterwards, was it really impossible on both of them to not know there was an issue? I think one is, well, you know, that's the way it happens. Two in one report, that really shouldn't be the way it happens. And I think that there's an issue there where they need to be looked at. And we need to see, where's this extra money coming from? Which budget is it coming from? Because if it's not to do with PV, but to do with repairs to the roof, then that should be paid for out of a different budget. It shouldn't be affecting the low energy one. But a concern that there's two on one agenda, it's not a good sign.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Bode. Councillor Day, anything further?
No further comments, thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Fell.
Yeah, I'm just concerned about, as I said, two on one report, but do we ever check any of our roofs? I know as a householder, you know, every so often, I don't get up on a ladder, but I do a visual check. And should this be a wake-up call for us to actually look at all our buildings before we put out contracts that, you know, certainly need a lot more money?
Councillor King.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. That is a very valid point. And in this district, of course, we have a high proportion of heritage buildings, which, you know, a heritage building is far more problematic issue to maintain. So that, I mean, we're coming on to the other roof we're touching on, but all these things do have a regular rotation for being inspected, and that includes the roof. And in fact, the roof of this building is also about to undergo another inspection. So we do bear that in mind the whole time. There's a lot of buildings to be considered, and particularly the older ones with more of a history demand more time and more resource often than easily comes to hand. So we have to bear that in mind. But yes, roofs are a problem, and we do have to keep on top of the maintenance, and I will make sure that happens as far as I can.
Okay, thank you. Obviously, with this one, there was speed was of the essence to get the money, and I'm sure Councillor Williams will explain that.
Yes, thank you, and I take the point. I'm absolutely happy that officers have worked diligently on this, particularly the officer leading this project. The St Nicholas Park Leisure Centre is not a roof, it's multiple roofs of different ages which have been had work done on at different time. I think the major issue driving this project was that the Sport England money became available at very late notice with a very short period, and the officers did the best they could within the time they had to predict the cost of the schemes. We could not go ahead with the extra funds and just reduce the number of PV on the scheme, but actually the roof needs this work done anyway. So this is an expedient, a piece of expediency now. In fact, in some senses, the fact that the Sport England money came along, we had to rush to do this work, and then the extra work has unearthed a problem which would have come back to bite us at some point in time. So I recommend that Cabinet approves this additional expenditure.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Councillor Sinnott, do you want to speak? No. Want a second? Thank you very much. All those in favour? Thank you. Item 18, Marketing and Communications Strategy. This must be Councillor Davidson.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you to the officers for providing an updated marketing and communication strategy, which outlines how we engage with our resident staff and stakeholders. So the report brings in data from resident surveys and addresses the current needs of the council, which include the impact of LGR and bringing in younger audiences.
Thank you. Councillor Bode.
No comment.
Councillor Day.
No comment.
Councillor Falp.
Yeah, I was interested to read on 2.1 about AI, and I'm not sure if we've got a policy about using AI. May have, we may not have. As I was the one who started off, we got to have video and YouTube on planning meetings. Perhaps I should start the discussion on whether we should be using AI.
Okay. You've obviously not been involved in the discussions to do with the local plan. Well, I'll turn to Graham Leach, our monitoring officer, to update us on the development of our AI policy.
Thank you, Leader. There's a very easy answer to this, which is it's on the forward plan to come to Cabinet in February, an AI policy for the Council, which will look about how we apply it in each setting and providing that safeguards to protect the information we're using within it as well, because that is kind of that key function. Is AI is brilliant, but actually it's what you're putting in, understanding what you're putting in, the safeguards around that, and that's where we have, as the leader's just referred to, tested it a little bit with the local plan jointly with Stratford. But yeah, that's report's due to come forward in February. It may even have made this meeting if I didn't have something else which I've been doing, which you all know about and we publish later today.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? So back to you, Councillor Davidson.
Great. One more thing to note is we probably need to remove the X logo following the last report. But yeah, I propose that we approve this strategy.
Can I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Melrose. All those in favour? Thank you very much. We're now on to the proposal for West Midlands Employers as standalone employer and admitted body for, this is a pension fund, I believe. Councillor Davidson, do you want to say anything about this?
Yeah, so the report is that we are shareholders of West Midlands Employers, so we will review and agree the proposals for WME as a standalone employer and admitted body in the Staffordshire Pension Fund.
And the idea is to move it from them to be an independent pension fund. Councillor Bode, anything from your group?
Not really, providing it moves pension funds out the way so the government can't grab them for investments.
Thank you. Councillor Day.
No, I can't comment after that, thank you.
Councillor Phelps.
I suppose I'd better declare an interest, because hopefully one day, if I ever pack this in, I might actually get a pension. So declare a personal, but I don't think it's prejudicial really, but no comment apart from that.
I don't think you're employed by West Midlands employers, so no. Any further comments? Councillor Melrose.
Just to state, as I'm currently the council's representative on the board, this has been discussed by all the shareholders at the board meeting, which each of this proposal has gone to the 31 councils, and I think it's an operational matter for West Midlands employers, but it's to help with their preparation alongside LGRs, push them to bring this paper forward.
Thank you. Back to you, Councillor Davidson.
Great, I recommend that we approve this, I propose that we approve this report as it's laid out.
Thank you, and thank you, Councillor Melrose, for seconding. All those in favour? Thank you very much. The numbering goes a bit haywire now, so we were on 19. We're now on to urgent item. I'll turn to Councillor Melrose for this.
Thank you, Chair. So basically, this is an urgent item just because of the timing, basically around the 2.825 million from the National Lottery Heritage Fund, which I thank all the people involved, including our staff and partners, in getting this. So it's just the technicality to sign the documents. But obviously, as we all know, Aleppo Hospital, I'm looking at Councillor Sinnott because obviously Mr. Warwick here, is a site that has been one of the many sites for a long time that needs a lot of redevelopment, and the aim is to have 2 properties, a 2-bed and a 1-bedroom property there, which will be 2 extra properties in the HRA.
Thank you. Councillor Bode, you may tell us how long this has been going on for?
I'm just glad that there's light at the end of the tunnel. So I think we've been talking about this for about 30 years.
Thank you. Councillor Day.
I agree. I think this has been a multi-administration effort. Many generations have worked on it. But Leader, if I may, I'd just like to make reference to our former Deputy Chief Executive, Mr. Jones, who took a personal focus to getting this one over the line, particularly the negotiations with the former landowner, and then initiating the whole National Lottery application process. His work as our Deputy Chief Executive was exemplar in this particular domain. So our group welcomes this. We wish the current portfolio every success in bringing the project home. Sorry, I'm looking at you, Councillor Melrose. And we very much look forward to going to the party when it's actually opened.
Thank you. Councillor Phelps.
I'm not sure Mr. Jones was happy with us constantly saying, please get this done, please get this done. But it's important for Warwick. It's an important route going into Warwick, and to see how it became is awful. So I'm really pleased, and the fact it may become people's homes as well is to be welcomed.
Thank you. Councillor Sinnott.
Yeah, I'd just like to add to that. It is a massive project for Warwick, really, really important, fits in with the Warwick vision. I appreciate there's been decades of people building and building towards this, but if I can be the cherry on top, I'll volunteer for that role. But this is a really good news story. Thank you.
Thank you. I was going to try and claim that, because I was actually at the meeting when Heritage Lottery came, and it was our job to persuade them to spend the money. And officers clearly did a great job, but I must admit, I thought they were overshadowed by West Midlands Historic Buildings Trust. I forget the name of the people, but they even inspired me about how good they were, about going around these sort of dilapidated buildings. I mean, the Master's House, medieval, there were umpteen holes and dead fox and things like that. But they really did bring it to life. I mean, they really did sell it on how good it was, and they obviously did a good job. And they will be really important partners in the restoration, because there's a lot of highly technical stuff to be done here. The third bit on this, the lettings policy, is interesting because this is for some of our vulnerable tenants to live in buildings like that. And clearly we want to be open, but they are historic buildings, and how to do that will need a lot of sensitivity. So I wish the housing team all the best to get that at the right level. Back to you, Councillor Melrose.
Thank you for that, and I'm really saddened I wasn't there to see you being inspired. I wish that would have been entertaining. But no, on that note, I completely agree with everyone. There's been decades and decades of work, and a certain councillor comes to mind who's lectured me the history of Leper Hospital, which he will be remained nameless, but I'm sure you know who he is delighted this paper is coming. So, and I will second coming to a party. I'll bring the beer for you, Councillor Day. So on that note, I'll lay out the paper as recommended.
Thank you. A seconder, please. Councillor Sinnott, all those in favour? Thank you. We're now moving on to the pump room roof, which this time is Councillor King. Would you like to introduce?
Yes. I haven't got a lot to add other than in the context of what we were just saying about roof and old buildings maintenance. From the outset, it was understood that this was going to be potentially a tricky one. It was always difficult to even estimate with any accuracy what was going to be found under those roof coverings, which hadn't been touched for so long. And we needed to change some of the technical air circulation equipment as well. That has presented other problems which related to the structure of the roof, which was uncertain at the time. So there's a lot of unknowns about that. But referencing your remarks, Councillor Bode, on how we engage or how we, from the outset, start on these projects, there is work underway and progressing that we look more closely at how we are engaging with these projects when we decide whether we should, and how we then start on them. And the leader and myself are very keen that this work moves forward and begins as quickly as possible to form a robust platform from which all our projects are more closely examined, and therefore we can be more confident about the way they progress. Other than that, the financials on this are confidential, but work is at the moment progressing well, and we are looking at a satisfactory completion, although it will be delayed. Thank you.
Thank you. I should have said that this is where the numbering is really strange, because we're now at 22A, and the reason for that is item 22 was confidential, and with discussion, officers agreed that quite a bit could be in the public domain, and hence the splitting and the strange numbering. So just be careful not to mention the bit that's still confidential. Councillor Bode, any comments from your group?
Yes, it's interesting you talk about the roof has been in such a bad state. It seems only yesterday that we refurbished the whole building.
Thank you. Councillor Falp.
No comment.
Thank you. Councillor Day.
That's all right. We welcome this, and frankly, it's best to do this now rather than come back and do it again later. So I think it's timely and appropriate.
Thank you. Comments from any other people? I was just horrified to hear that there are 16 different roofs on the pump rooms. Then if you look at it, you can kind of see the different shapes and so on. So it's not as simple as it ought to be. And obviously, well, I won't mention the other bit. Councillor King, back to you.
Yeah, I mean, there are many roof planes or individual roofs. You know, one has to remember that when the ambition that built these buildings in the first place didn't really have much didn't give much consideration to how they were going to be maintained 100, 150, 200 years later. and we're left with that one to worry about. So I offer this as laid out to the committee.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Billiald. All those in favour? Thank you. I hope you're okay to carry on. This is now the private session. So this is where it's asking for the press to leave as set out in the document. So I'll just give a moment for those to do so. Oh, can I'm proposing that from the chair that we're moving into public session. Thank you, Councillor Melrose, for seconding. All those in favour? Thank you very much.